Yes, Arnoldo. Unless I do something stupid like forget to start the recorder, and it's already running now, but I've done that before. Pretty much everything that I present, I record and post on the tutorials page, which you can get to from the app, as well as from the website. So let's see. We already did a sound check. I guess thanks everybody for coming this afternoon. For any of you who don't know, my name's Ed Carter. I'm kind of the let's just call me the architect behind Trader Vision. And today's workshop, we'll try to keep it about 45 minutes, but it'll go as long as it goes. I will answer your questions. Let's start with a little housekeeping. In the lower left-hand corner, for those of you who don't know, there's a speaker icon. You can use that icon to adjust your volume. I think I've got things set pretty well on my end. In the upper, well, let's call it center of the screen, there's a blue cross-like icon that will resize your screen display. And there's a black or dark gray frame type icon, which will take you to full screen if you want to do that. If you have trouble with sound, since everybody else has told me they're doing good, try the red X in the upper right and choose reload. And with that said, let's get started here. There won't be a lot of slides tonight, or this afternoon, I'm sorry, but essentially just a few things that I want to go through. Basically, there are a bunch of improvements, new features, or improvements to features that we have put out today's release, and I want to go through those. Then I'll answer questions, and if we have time, we may plan a couple trades, just to get more experience with you seeing somebody use the product. So, with that said, let's go ahead and get started. First of all, when you open Trader Vision, you will see this notification here that says there's a new version available. You can click that, which then opens up a it doesn't even show now. There we go. Opens up the automatic download for your operating system. I posted the link for those of you, like I know sometimes Mac users have problems with getting this to work. It's a Mac security feature that links from within programs don't work. But you could copy the link and paste it, or you can use the link that I pasted into the chat earlier and just paste that into your browser, and that will automatically start the download. There it is again. You then close the application, and then let's just run that download. Downloads. There we go. And there we go. I've installed the new version. That's all there is to it. It took us less than a minute, including the download. So this is the new version. You can verify that you were there by using help, about, and it says now I'm on 2.0.53.125. I think if you're a Mac user, it will say 2.53. I don't know, like 54 or something like that. I can't keep them straight because Mac counts versions differently. It's just one of those things where they like to be different. So let's talk about the changes that we've made in this new update that we've released. The first thing is, if you're very, very observant, you might have caught it already, but to allow you to manage your TraderVision account, you can now do that from inside the application. So there's a help subscription management, and that will open a web page on the website. If you're already logged in, it will greet you. If you're not logged in, it will give you a login fields for your username and password, which is your email address and password. Then you will log in, and it will take you to the management page where you can change the credit card you're using. If you decide you want to, you can cancel your subscription and so forth. So that's one change that was made to make it easier for you to manage things. Second thing you may have noticed is that some of the things have changed slightly in their appearance. We've tried to standardize across the different widgets. One of the things that we have changed is that we're pretty much standardizing on this type of look. We've got a little bit larger icons. We've got a plus sign to add records or trades, the trash can to delete. We have the drop down menu, again slightly larger and more visible types of icon and text. So hopefully that will help the people who have been having issues with that. By the way, I am displaying here at 1.2% or 20% larger for your benefit here. It looks pretty big to me on my monitor, but for your benefit, some people have trouble, I know, and this is hopefully going to help. So those are the main changes. Let's talk about just a couple things from the menu. You can import and export records here, and if you just choose export, it will export everything that's visible, and it does it by default in CSV format, comma separated values format, which many programs, including like spreadsheets like Excel, can import. You could choose HTML format. SYLK is a new Microsoft format for spreadsheets, so it's kind of a variation on CSV. Or you can choose XML. And I will let you play around with those, but let's just do a quickie. Let's do XML, and let's just call this test. HTML. Yes, Google Chrome. And what it did was it exported all of my trades into an HTML format, and the same thing would happen if I had chosen CSV or any of the other formats. So hopefully that's useful to you. Some people have been asking for that. It will remember your selection then. You can always change it, but it will remember your selection for future reference. Let's get into some of what I think are really cool features here. You'll notice that the look has changed a little bit here. We're in trade log. Well, I guess I should start at the beginning. First of all, trade log here, it says 2018, and what that means is I have chosen, and there's a little caret beside it which you can click on. I have chosen January 1st 2018 through December 31st 2018. If I change this to January 2nd, now I have the date range shown up here. So whatever you choose will be shown here, and you can change that selection. What records do you want to see at any time there? You can also search by pretty much any column that we have. So let's just say I only want to look at closed trades. I just start typing the word closed, and it brings up only closed trades. Or I only want to see trades for the Microsoft ticker. I type MSFT, and it pulls up just the Microsoft records. And again, the same thing can be true of, I could put in dates, I can put in biases, whatever I want to search for, and be able to narrow down. I could use the IDs. So let's say I want to look at trade number 69. That's the trade that'll pull up there. So that's perhaps handy once you have a bunch of trades in to narrow down what you're looking at. The next thing that you can do is that you can now select multiple records. So if I want to manage multiple records at a time, I can choose which records I want to deal with. I can use my Windows keys at this point, so I could do Control X to cut, Control C to copy, and then go to another account and paste. I can also use the menu where I can delete those records. I could print them. I could copy or cut, or to move them to a different account. In fact, let's do that. I don't want to be moving closed records, so let's just get rid of these. Let's just pick those are in the 30s and 40s, so let's just take those records there. I'm leaving 37, and let's just do Control X. Same thing as cut. And I go to another account. Let's see. We've got no 30s in here. Why did it only take one? What did I do wrong here? Let's go back to the sample account. 30, 33, 34, 35. There we go. Okay, I guess it was not recognizing my Windows shortcut key. That's something there screwed that up. I'll have to check into that. But I've just moved those trades to another account. The same thing would be true if I wanted to delete some trades. Let's see if I can find, well, here I've got two CYH trades. One of them, let's just assume, was a mistake. They're both planned, and I just hit the trash can, asked me if I wanted to get rid of it. Yes. The same thing's true. Whoops, I meant to delete more than one. So just select what you want to delete, and they're gone. So that makes managing trades more simple. You can now move blocks of trades, delete blocks of trades, copy them, print them out, and so forth. You can manage them in groups. The next thing that you can do is you can sort by any column. So whatever column I want to sort by, I can do that. And if I click it again, it reverses the direction. So now I'm sorting in descending order, S short, and the rest are long. Now they're all longs and the shorts are at the end. I can sort by closed, opened, and planned, by ticker ID, and so forth. You can sort by next earnings date. And the same thing is true across all columns. The next thing that you can do is that you can manage the columns themselves. So let's just resize a column. It will remember the size that you have chosen. You can move columns around. So perhaps I want next earnings date to be appear earlier in the list. I can do that, and I can do that for any column. Move your columns around. It will remember how you have arranged them, and that will become your default layout, if you will. Let's check my list to make sure I'm not missing things. You can hide columns. So let's say I don't care about short-term market bias. I right-click on it and choose Hide Short-Term Market Bias. I can always put it back. If I want. So right-click, hide, or show. What else can we do? We did drag and drop. We did sort and reverse. We did resize. We managed multiple trades. One other thing. So I select a bunch of trades that I wanted to work with here. And I decide, you know what? I don't want to work with those. The select column header is now also a button. So it reverses whatever the current action is. So since I have some selected, clicking it clears the selection. But if I click it now, it selects all the records. And I can go through and unclick them one at a time. Or clicking again, anytime you have a selection, clicking that button will clear the selection. So just remember that the select button, or the select column label, is also a button. We've also made, it may not be easy for you to see, but these are more larger and more readable icons here for these biases or trends, and hopefully that will help you and your, some people have had trouble seeing that. For those of you who don't know, we've always had out here the date created, so the date the trade was created and the date the trade was last modified. Excuse me. So that will be helpful if you're trying to, for example, look at a trade that I've recently worked on. I can just sort by that date and find it quickly. I see some typing, so I'm going to slow down a little bit and let you catch up. Thank you, Philippe. I have not forgotten the things you asked about here. I guess last week I was off, but the week before, and we will be getting to those next, but we are not there yet on the performance widget questions you had asked about. Let's see what else I can do here. I guess that's pretty much it from a trade log stance. The same things are going to be true in Account Manager. Again, a little bit larger icons. Again, the date selection from this center field, and you choose either of these controls, and you can pick dates and forward and back months and so forth. And depending on what you have selected, it'll either say you selected the year of 2018 or the month of January, or between two specific dates. Again, you can search. If I had a bunch of transactions here, I could search by ticker, I could search by date, I could search for just my entries or just my exits, so forth and so on. And again, the menu is the same. You can, the plus sign to add a new transaction in Account Manager, the trash can to delete. You can edit a transaction, print, export them, import transactions from external source, copy, cut, and paste if you want to move them between accounts. So it's now going to be a standardized format that is a little bit, hopefully, learn it once and it works the same across all widgets. When scrolling to the right off screen to reveal additional columns, is it possible to fix the ticker column? I don't know what you're saying. So like freeze panes in Excel. I don't know, but I'd have to look in that. It's a function of the grid control we're using, and I'm not sure if that is possible. I'm not sure how flexible it is. I mean, in programming, anything is possible, but I'm not sure how easy it is to do with the grid control that we're using now. So I'm making a note on that, and I will ask about it, but I don't know. But one thing you can do, let's go back to trade log. You can definitely, as I said, just resize all of these columns, and there may be some that you want to hide. And it won't take very long before you've got this thing down to a point where you can get almost all of your columns in. Yeah, perhaps I don't want to see the emotions. So that may help. Is there a restore button? No, there's not a restore button. So you're asking, will it? Can I go back to the sizes that I wanted before, the original sizes? I don't believe that we can do anything there. Oops. I'm having trouble with my mouse. I don't know if it's a battery issue or what. Well, I don't think there's too much to mess up. You know, I've hidden some things. I can always, I mean, so that's kind of a restore. Anything I've hidden, I can show again. I can always resize them again. So I've decided perhaps that I made market bias too darn small. I just make it bigger, and you know, then you just find the level that works for you. So I understand the general concept, what you're talking about, but I don't see how we would have too much in the way of you can't get too deep into the weeds where you would need to back things up completely. At least that's my impression or my feeling at this point. Okay, where was I? So account manager is the same basic functions again from the menu that we had during the look at trade log. Again, you can select multiple transactions if you wanted to, I don't know, move them from one account to another, for example, for some reason or something of that nature. We have now put I'll call them summary or column type or totals here in one column as opposed to being side by side. That's something additional we've changed here. But other than that, the changes are pretty much identical, and the functionality is pretty much the same as it was before, with the difference of being able to manage multiple things and having the ability to copy and paste them and so forth. So that's basically the functionality that I wanted to show you. There were some background bugs that we fixed as well. I don't want to really go through those in depth. Mostly there were background issues. One of them was around a import error where if you didn't have a database and you chose import from the menu, it would give you an error, which was not really an error. It would give you an error message, but that error message meant that we were doing pre-work to get ahead of you, and in the default location there was no file, and so that's why it generated an error. So it was a non-error because there was nothing for you to import anyway. Anyway, that's what I've got. I guess the next thing I want to do is open it up to questions, and after we do questions, we'll see if we can maybe look at a couple trades. Wally, the columns are resized just by, can you see my mouse now where I've gone to a column title, and by going to the edge of it, it becomes a double-ended arrow. I just click and drag it to where I want it to be. Real simple. It's pretty much a Windows standard thing. It's probably standard across all operating systems. But you know, if I wanted my notes to be larger, I could do that. You're welcome, Greg. Again, for the video, I'm waiting. I see some people typing, so I'm going to hold on here. Okay, let's see. To the fourth decimal. To the fourth decimal. Are you buying partial shares, or are you buying a different currency that, because of exchange rate, you go there? Probably something like that, maybe. I'm just trying to, I need to think about this for a second. Our commissions goes to multiple levels, so I would think that we could do it. The problem is I'd have to make it selectable, because you're buying round lots, but you're paying to the fourth decimal place. Wow. Okay, penny stocks. I don't know how that is, but it doesn't matter how it is. I would have to somehow make that probably an options thing, because the vast majority of users are not going to want that. You know, seeing, you know, they're always going to see 0, 0. Huh. Okay, well, maybe that's just a feature of your brokerage. It's odd. Okay. I can look into that. Let me just make a note here. Option. Go to I will look into that. I'm not sure. Okay, David. Well, I will look into that, guys, and see what we can do. Okay, well, that's... I haven't run into that in a long time. I know that way back, I think, boy, better part of 20 years ago, Scottrade was that way, and I'm not sure. Possibly, I might have used Schwab at one of those points. It was TD. I used TD Waterhouse at one point. That was one that did that. So, which later was bought by TD Ameritrade and was bought by Toronto Dominion and so forth. So I will look into that. Again, okay, TC, I'll take your word for it. Maybe that's probably why I don't get that. I'm almost always, although I do get fills at different prices sometimes, but I'm almost always using limit. So, okay, let's. It doesn't matter. I will look into making that available to us, and we'll see what happens. Yeah, I mean, the only reason that's just an average price is what that is. So you placed a market order, for Etsy, just because that's the example somebody, Philippe, had given us, and they bought from 2, 3, 4 different buyers, and so your average price was $29.3366. So yeah. Okay, I will look into that and see if we can't make that happen. I'm sure we can. It's just a question of when and what it'll take. Okay, if we don't have any other questions, let's talk about, are there any trades you guys want to look at? Let me pull up my chart. Does anybody have any trades they would like us to take a look at? Frankly, the market is not thrilling me because of the chop. CVRR. Okay, I assume that you're liking this as a long. It's getting a little long in the tooth, perhaps, but let's just plan out what you had in mind. Yeah, so that line works out pretty good. Let's see what else we can find here. Might put another line up here. Probably across there. Let's go back to a daily. So you like this as a long. We've got no signal, but certainly got a nice trend here this last week and a half. It did its pullback, so it relieved a lot of pressure, and it's running it back up there. Looks to me like it may have, I suppose you could argue that line should be dropped down along in here off of these highs and these highs, and today we broke out. So let's just say that you did that. Let's see if this potential resistance, what that does to us. So where would you be looking to put your stop on this, Philippe? Personally, I would be looking for something down in this area. Below these 3 candles and into the bodies there. So it's kind of corresponding across this area as well. So that's kind of where I would be looking, something in the, let's call it 1460 range. 1455, someplace around there. And if you had an entry, let's say you got an inside day entry here of about 1535. and a first target potentially about 16.10, and a second one up here about 17 3/4. Let's see what that would plan out like. So what did I say? 15.35 and a stop of about 14.60 and a first target up around 16.10 and a second one about 17.75. So it says I can buy 166 shares and keep my my max loss to 125 based on the stop. Let's just do 100 shares. And that's a tiny piece of the account, so let's just go ahead and do the 150. I like round numbers. I'm risking 112 bucks with let's see what happens at 75. I'm only getting 1-to-1 here, so what would have to happen for me is I would have to assume that 16.10 was not going to be resistance, and I was looking at that 17.75 as really my target. That would give me 3-to-1, and it would just barely get me above my 350 goal. So that could plan out if and only if I decided that 16.10 level here was not going to be resistance and I could yank that out of the way. If I thought that was not going to be resistance, then on an inside buy here I would be looking at a run up into here of what 15% or so, and if I did that, that would work out. That seems like a potential there, but again, it's going to be based on what we can get. If we could get an engulfing candle to be a nice signal, that would be nice to go along with a little bit of bullish patterns that we have here. Let's see the next one that you guys wanted to look at, RPAI. I guess I should do the chart first. There it is. RPAI. Okay, this is one of the REITs. I knew I recognized it. I had looked at this one some point today. Let's go to weekly, see if it should be refined at all. Probably not. Okay, so this is what I'm seeing with RPAI. I'd probably drop another one up into here, someplace in that area. Let's be conservative. And if that's the case, we're looking at, what were you looking at in terms of a buy? Above these last 4 days, above the breakout of this, 1205 close? What were you thinking? Do you have anything in mind, Ben? I've got no signal here, but I've got several days inside that nice bullish candle. And it is holding the 50. So it's doing a pullback in a nice trend, holding the 50. For me, I just want to see it break that 11.95 type of. So you're looking to buy at the current price. Okay. So he's looking at 1187. Where are you going to put your stop? Personally, I'm going to be putting mine down here. Shift. There we go. Probably in this area. Let's call it 1166. And are you looking at a first target in here, or are you running it on the way all the way up into this next area up here? So he says 1163. I'll use that. For planning purposes, let's just pull this down a little bit to be conservative. So let's say it's a 1277 target, and I'll round that down. So let's look at it and see what we've got. Let's see. Okay, so the market is long-term against us, short-term with us for a long trade. The stock itself is the same way. Long-term is downtrending, short-term is uptrending. We do have the 8 EMA still below the 34. We've got plenty of liquidity. We've got no signal, but we see the nice little pullback inside this large candle. And we're not doing anything great here on patterns. If we have a $125 loss to stop out, then it says 520 shares. Let's just do 500. And let's assume we can sell them all at that first price. It's going to give us about 3 3/4 to 1. Your target is 1264. What did I miss? Your target. Okay, well that's fine. I'll use that number. It gives us about 3.2 to 1, and you know, with a $350 per trade goal, I would make that here. You know, even though we're only making 6.5%, with a large trade, about 4 2/3% of this account, we would risk 120 to make 385, and that might work for you. So again, it's kind of a matter of fudging with the numbers and seeing if you think that those numbers are reasonable. So I thought a little bit higher on the target. Might have thought a little bit higher on the stop as well. So 6 of one, half dozen the other. But that looks like it might work. It all depends on the market, because you've got no signal, and you're really just working off that pattern, hoping for a J hook within that RBB. And that 1264 is real close to a 61.8 extension of this little run here. So that's not too bad. Any other ones you guys want to look at? I had a couple that I had looked at here. Let's see if any of them strike your fancies. APTS, but I wouldn't like it until it's up here about 15 bucks. I love that little pullback, but there was too much of a pullback here for this run. But I like the little nice bullish engulfing we've got here, or you could call it a 2-star Morning Star, whatever you want to call. but it's breaking out, and I need to see it break out of these highs before I would look at it. IPHI semis, another nice run, nice pullback, held the 50, and we're bouncing up off of it now. You could call that a flag breakout if you like, but that's a lot of candles in the flag. You could call it working on a J hook. However you want to frame it, it's just a pullback opportunity here within this run. And I see this as potential resistance based off of prior touches here on a basically a 38.2 pullback. I would be looking at the 23.6 as my target, but in this case I'm probably going to put target 1 and target 2. So let's see what we would do here. On an inside day buy, I would be buying about 31.35. Where am I going to put my stop? Probably down into here. Yeah, I buy what V-stop says, 29.88. And the first target is 33.55. And then 35.75. Let's see what that plans out. IPHI, was that? Yeah. See, we've got the rounded bottom breakout. Again, we've got these short-term or longer-term biases working against us. Short-term biases working for us. At least the 8's above the 34 at this point. $31.35, $29.85, just to be generous. $33.55 and $35.75. So it says I can do 80 shares and keep below my 125 risk. I would probably push that up to 100. So I'm willing to go over that 125 risk a little bit. Basically risking 150 bucks for a chance to make, well, let's see what happens if I sell 50 shares there. 1.5 to 1. That's not going to get it done. So that trade just won't fly for me. Even if I went all the way, I bet I don't get a nice number there. Well, almost 3 to 1. Risking 150 to make 440. Only if I can see past that first target that I pulled up. So for me, this is probably a non-trade. Let's see what Hog had, and then we'll call it a night. OMER, something he likes. So you can call that a Morningstar sort of type. You can see that I had marked out some lines on this at some point. Quasi, and we had to tune them, but it quasi stuck to those levels. Are you looking for an inside day buy here, a breakout buy? What are you thinking here, Steve? Are you trying to buy into this gap? What's your plan? I don't know. My chart shows OMER on my little preview window, Steve. Does anybody else? You're looking for a pause, then resume. Okay, well, David sees Omer too, so then I'm not sure. Are you looking for a pause then resume? So you're looking for something in this area and then looking for a resumption. Where's your target at, Steve? If we used V-stop, it says 1332 for your stop, which would be down in here. Retest of the spike. So your target is right here. Your stop is at 1425. You okay? Okay, I'm not going to argue with it. Let's just plan it out. Let's close this one, open a new one. Homer. He was looking for a doji, so let's call that, let's just say 1467. And he said 1425 is a stop. And a test of the spike would put him at 1550. What was that? 15 and a quarter. Okay, so you're trading intraday. This is just a day trade, or at least being managed from the short term. Your target is 18. Okay. If you could get this with this account set up, it says 250 shares. And if you could get to 18 on that, you're getting 6.5 to 1. It would be an awesome trade. I'm okay. You're just, this is what you're thinking up in here, I guess. And I was just thinking about these potential resistance areas before you get there, but that's neither here nor there. So if you, let's put that target up there. Something like that as your target. Okay, I see what you're doing. I try not to drop inside a daily chart, but you know that, and I know you do. So, and of course, when you're trading your commodities, you're down on I can't remember, is it 370 ticks, 377 or something like that. So that plan would be awesome if you could get that. And as Steve said, it's one of those, it either works or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, no harm, no foul. Okay, guys, let's call that good for now. What did I want to do? There we go. That's good for today. If you need to contact me, you certainly can. I already printed in the chat that update link, but let me just put it on this slide as well, so that the players at home can get that. If you need the download link for some reason, there you go. So that will do it. Again, thank you so much for spending your afternoon with me here after the close, and everybody have a great rest of the evening.